can, if nobody reviews it, I can write in there to send all of these credit card numbers to my email. They're worried about your employees being malicious. They require you to keep in check people that you trust.
Checks and balances, you just want the control in place.
So you have to, if you're a one-person shop, you just put in there, look, it is just me. I am the only person that does this. I don't have someone else to do this. Therefore, I run, security review. I do the coder module before I do this. I run these things. You just got to document it. And if you come into a situation where that happens to you, where you look at the requirement, it's utterly ridiculous, you need to come up with a solution and document it. If you start finding that you've got a lot of those, you really need to contact QSA and have someone who's certified come in and help you do this. It's expensive at first, but it is worth it. Our QSA helped us. That's how we found out about the GPL. Our QSA told us that. He found the documentation for us, gave it to us, and said, here's how you handle your open source software. We were worried that we were going to have to take all of our stuff off of open source because it had to be DSS certified. Good thing it doesn't. You just got to maintain it. And it's all about documentation. And honestly, we had a hard time getting our payment processor to accept our compliance documentation. We were done. We said we were compliant, but they were like, we don't see it. It was just a pain. So you just got to be on them and get detailed instructions of what you have to do once you have the documents that say you're compliant. We used a company called Coalfire. They have a really kind of cool tool called Navis, and it's a rapid SAQ. SAQ is the Security Assessment Questionnaire. You fill in a bunch of information about your business, what you do, and it helps you fill out your security questionnaire. Because honestly, it's written in legal speak. It's hard to understand a lot of times, but it helps you. There's a lot of little help documents. It gives you places to put all your documentation and your proof that you're compliant. It took us, the 4 of us, about 6.5 months to complete our compliance. But we have daily maintenance to maintain compliance. And that's the thing you have to understand, is that just because on January 1st of 2010, the AOG was considered PCI compliant, one little change we make can make us not compliant the next day. And they're looking for compliance on the day of the breach. That's what they care about, is were you compliant the day that this event happened?
Can they always find a reason if I'm not compliant?
I'm gonna honestly, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to it. If you keep good documentation, you're definitely a lot more.
It's just gonna end up in court.
I don't know. I don't know anybody that's had a breach since this stuff has started. I do know that that's the potential. But the honest to God truth is that if you document, if you're doing your quarterly network scans and you're doing your documentation, and you're doing it, you're keeping up on it, you're making sure you're taking time daily to make sure that your system is still compliant, then you're good. You just gotta be careful. You have to be really, really careful when it comes to these things because the consequences are severe. Honestly, I know that it's difficult for a lot of people. Find a good QSA. Have them help you through the process because it's complex and there's a lot of things that you have to do that you would never realize you had to do. And we had to buy a whole new firewall to create our DMZ.
I know this is a hard thing to do, but can you throw out some costs? Like, okay, this professional here, how many hours on this hour? I'm seeing dollars.
It cost us, Matt, am I allowed to even give this information out?
Just ballpark.
Okay, ballpark.
Do you remember his hourly? I don't.
Huh? I think it was like, I don't remember what it was hourly. The Navis system quoted for us, I think, was like It was cheap, it was like $350 a year. However, we did have to pay a QSA hourly. I think we ballparked, we've got a very unique setup. We have a lot of servers, a huge building. We had a pretty complex setup. It cost us probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $10,000 initial startup cost for our organization. Does that mean that someone who has a shared host and writes their own tools is going to have that kind of cost? No, probably not.
I don't think you can do shared hosts and be PCI compliant.
If
I don't think you can. Like, you have to have a dedicated box.
yeah.
I don't think you can, because that's like, shared is almost saying you're not PCI compliant, because you're in an environment that's not.
There are, I imagine there's got to be a way for a shared host to do that.
You can't control everybody else, put it on their side.
Right, exactly. Well, here's the thing about it. You have to talk to your vendors.
Yeah.
You have to talk to your
You don't
vendors.
see it that often.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do because they're trying to limit access between, and they guarantee that if you're here, you can't get there.
Yeah.
And that guarantee is hard to make.
What are the prices for shared PCI compliant hosting? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I know a dedicated box at like Rackspace at like minimum $400 a month. So I don't know like everyone else here, but like if you're asking like, okay, you said 10 grand for initial setup, maybe most.
You got to understand that
Yeah.
that 10 grand number, I didn't want to throw it out there
Yeah.
because our setup was very,
Let's
very
just do a
unique.
case study. Like, okay, how about just a small business like a florist or someone that does a minimal amount of transactions?
I can't give you that. I don't
Here's-
know.
A lot of it depends on your liability insurance. If you're, as a business owner, if you go and get liability insurance against, a lawsuit about, identity theft, then, depending on the size or the nature of the insurance or the carrier or whatever, they might say, well, to qualify for this insurance, you have to come in and run X, Y, and Z tests. Or they might just say, oh, you have to do all the paperwork online.
Right.
A lot of it just depends on who you have covered your tail. If you have no insurance at all, then it's basically how far you want to stick your own neck out.
Everything stems from your, from like authorize.net, right? That
Author-
It says, like, you have to be PCI compliant, and then this is what you have to do.
Yes.
And there are services where they'll just send the entire transaction off-site. That we help people set that. I work for Commerce Guys. We help people set that up too, where they'll basically they don't want to handle any of the card numbers. They don't want any of that, and so basically it just goes over to a third party altogether. So the entire card number and everything is handled by a different
Like, they
site.
don't add a card number in their actual site.
Correct.
Into their
It's basically
own.
like PayPal, right?
Exactly.
Go to the
Pretty
email
much.
and then come back.
Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about PCI compliance.
Well, you still have to fill out the form. I mean, your website still does something.
And then you get IP address for
Right.
assurance, because no one's gonna go in. And
Right.
put
But
the-
here's the thing about it. If that's something that you have set up, your liability is limited.
Right.
If it goes, it's already on the, as long as you've got your documentation, that these people say they're PCI compliant, and it ever comes through your organization, it goes completely to a separate site, the card number